happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are having a spooky Sunday, or whatever the day is where you happen to be watching this. I know we're all about Halloween this week on the channel. Never done it before in quite the way we're doing it this time. And certain large, giant, fluffy animals may or may not make an appearance on the main channel. I haven't decided yet. Although both Chimmy and Queenie have volunteered in my head. And I would argue that the Queenie one is almost a voluntold, but she's doing a Halloween thing on the weekend. In fact, the day before this video is going out. So it may be that she's not ready to make her appearance in time for the video we've got planned midweek. Anyway, I hope your weekend is a good one. And because it's Halloween just around the corner, we're going to be talking about my birthday. No, we're not going to be talking about my birthday. November 1st, for those who are interested. Instead, we're going to be talking about horror stories. Campfire EV horror stories that you're going to tell to other people to, make Halloween a little bit more spooky. It's very traditional, of course, to tell spooky stories around campfires. And very often, they're the kind of things that you'd only tell friends and family. I'm sure you've come across them in your group of friends and family before. I know I've got a family member who claims to have run over a ghost before, and other things of spooky nature. I mean, I've got my own stories, right? I lived in a house where weird things used to happen on a regular basis, and not because I lived there. In fact, I had a house where everyone, including Kate Warden Elliott, had horrible vibes about a particular room in the building. And when we moved out, the person asked us, who was responsible for the leasing company, asked us if anything weird had happened in the house. And we said, yeah, do you want a list? And she smiled. So apparently it was fairly common. Anyway, today, I want to know about your spooky EV stories, the horror stories that you might not necessarily tell people who are looking to get into EVs for the first time, but maybe it's a story that you might tell around the campfire to other EV owners as a kind of a commiseration. I'm talking about the time where you arrived at a charging station to find that it was dead, or maybe you did as I did in the early days of EV driving, where you would, very innocently head out on a road trip and, you checked before you'd left that you had access to charging stations along the trip. But when you arrived, you found out that the charging station that was on the particular map that you were using just didn't exist. It was a ghost charging station. There was no sign of it ever having existed. And maybe some over-enthusiastic CEO had submitted it as a location where they wanted to put a charging station in, and something had happened. Maybe they'd had a disagreement with the site owner and the charging station never actually materialized. Tell me about those. I've had some. I've already told you about the time we ran out of charge when we were up in the mountains, and I literally rolled into the charging space. There was nobody there, luckily. Literally rolled into the charging space, plugged in my Nissan Leaf, and it started charging, which back then wasn't always a surefire thing, because those early CHAdeMO chargers were pretty bad. Or CHAdeMO, as I should say. Sorry, correcting myself there. But maybe you had a nightmare experience with a service rep. Maybe you bought your EV from a mainstream automaker, and then you had some crazy story from the service department as to why they couldn't do this one simple thing to your car, and you ended up having to get the automaker involved. And then maybe you found another dealer down the road who did the thing you wanted them to do, and it cost you much, much less. Tell me about those in the down below. Maybe it's a rental story. Maybe you were one of those unfortunate people who went to Hertz and rented an EV only to be charged for gasoline when you brought the car back. I know that's happened to multiple people. I've been very lucky that's never happened to me, but whenever I've rented from Hertz, I've always had that fear. What if, what if I am the person who that happens to next? Tell me if you were one of those people in the down below. Or maybe it's just a nightmare from ordering. You know, maybe you've been waiting for your EV now for a couple of years and it still hasn't arrived. And it's a bit of a nightmare because you don't want to buy a new car, but maybe you really need to. You don't want to cancel your order because you really want the thing that you wanted all along. I know there are some people who are waiting for Apteras who feel like that. People who maybe have just had their current car in a wreck and they're like, I cannot go out and buy a new car because I want to buy an Aptera and it's coming and I desperately want to wait for that. Or maybe it's a repair story. Maybe you are one of those unfortunate souls who had an EV that you really, really loved, and maybe you got involved in a small accident, or maybe something happened to your vehicle, and then the insurance company wrote it off. Maybe you are that Fisker owner. I don't know if any Fisker owners watch this channel, but maybe you're a Fisker owner who had their car written off for the silliest of things because you couldn't find, or Fisker wouldn't sell, or didn't have to sell a particular part that, you know, other automakers would have in scads in a back room somewhere. Tell me all of your horror stories. This is not meant to put people off buying an EV. I just want to be really clear. Make it lighthearted, make it fun. Let me know that it all ended well at the end in a traditional campfire story. You can do the kind of the spooky end if you want, or you can do, and they all lived happily ever after. But just don't, you know, don't push the boat out so far that everyone's going, well, I'm never buying this ever again. Let me know that it all resolved, because I'm going to assume that it did. I'm currently watching Mark Travels. He's in India right now, and he's traveling around India on a motorbike, a zero electric motorbike, and he did like the best cliffhanger for the last 2 videos. He's getting really good at his story narration. Go and give him a click and a subscribe if you haven't already. He was in the middle of a mountain range and he was down to 0. And then the video stopped. So I guess we'll find out next week whether he got a charge. I'm going to assume he did because he's made the video. So it's just, you know, good storytelling. But again, perfect for Halloween, perfect for this time of year. And by the way, if you are out and about celebrating Halloween with your family and friends, keep it safe, keep it kind, and don't be a jerk to other people, and just enjoy the fun of the season. I have not really ever celebrated Halloween, and personally, I've been working through a lot of emotional baggage, emotional damage that comes from Halloween, because back in 2001, on Halloween, it was the day I buried my father in 2001, and then the very next day, I turned 22. Yeah. Long time ago now. Luckily, I've worked through all of that and I'm ready to celebrate Halloween and my birthday later this week in style. So take care of yourself, look after others. I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me today, and if you've got some thoughts, make sure you leave them in our Discord chat room, our Patreon page, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of the more than 1,500 people who help fund this channel through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure that we can remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There are a range of different tiers that you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month, or if you pay yearly, just over $10 a year. A huge welcome to our newest supporters: Alan Brim, Jim, Sarah Horlock, full name, Todd Johnson, Roderick, Stuart Despain, Rupert Ronson, Larry Phoenix, Darla, Wendy Kelly Bundenbaum, and Kay. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your moment of fame. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll also find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have a good old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at, address also linked below. And of course, if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store in the down below. Don't forget that Halloween is coming and we've got some great designs for the season. We've also got some great content coming up, so make sure you're subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we also think this one is well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving!